Senator Kristin Phillips-Hill. Thank heaven she's here to save us. It's always good to have you aboard. And I know one of the things that I was thinking about this yesterday, Kristin. I was driving back from Wyncote Golf Club. I was playing golf with some people you know. I know Ryan Costello and Matt Briette and Colin Hanna. We were playing golf yesterday down at Wyncote in Chester County, and I was driving home through Lancaster and just looking at all the beautiful acreage around there and the Amish farms and all that kind of stuff and just feeling really good. And then I get up into Lincoln Highway East and I start venturing back toward my hometown of York here, and all the shuttered businesses and all the places that did not have business. It was like 7:30 and everything is closed down. And I'm thinking, what are we going to be like after all this is over, if there's an over after all this? I found myself being kind of down about that a little bit. Not as down as I was when I got home and I got a letter from the Pacers, the retirement system, that told me I was dead. So I have to deal with that today, but I can't wait to deal with the state on that.
But assistance with that, Gary, you can always call our office. We'll be happy to let those folks know that you're.
I might do that. I appreciate that because I really like being alive. I mean, talking with you it's much easier that way. But anyway, but I was thinking about the shuttered businesses and how our landscape has changed so badly. And I know you've been concerned about that. You've been talking a lot about it. I also know, and we wanted to talk about this morning, about a big hearing, a public hearing that's coming up on September 8th that you're going to be chairing. And I wanted to get into that with you this morning as well. So I'll kind of turn it over to you right now, Senator, to take it from there.
Well, Gary, we have discussed at length numerous times the incredible challenges that Pennsylvania is facing as a result of the second most restrictive shutdown in the nation. Only California has surpassed us in terms of the shutdown. Remember, we were the only Commonwealth or the only state that had a complete shutdown of real estate. Our small businesses have really, really been hammered during this pandemic, right? We saw the big box stores remain open and our small Main Street businesses shut down. And, certainly I'm going to go out later today. I'm going to be knocking on doors of small businesses in Red Lion, letting them know that, the federal CARES dollars that came to the state, we appropriated down to York County. York County Economic Alliance is pushing out grants to small businesses. We want to keep them viable, and we want them to make it through to a post-COVID-19 world. And, we're looking at a lot of things. How do we, make sense of all of this? How do we battle through this? And, recently the Pennsylvania Department of Health put out a press release and spoke about their plans to launch a COVID-19 contact tracing app next month. And I have heard from a lot of constituents, they are super concerned about this. And I think we always have to be concerned, and we always have to work to ensure that there are safeguards that are going to prevent the violation of our civil rights and the loss of our liberties any time that government acts. We've seen a tremendous amount of government overreach during this COVID-19 pandemic. And as the chair of the Senate Communications and Technology Committee, we have oversight over anything technology related. On Tuesday, September, at the state capitol, we're going to hold a hearing, and we are going to publicly vet this app and address concerns surrounding contact tracing and data privacy. And I think here's the thing for me as a legislator. Despite being responsible for answering questions from constituents about every mandate, every rule, everything that has come down from the governor's administration and the Department of Health, the General Assembly has had zero input in various mitigation measures, including the development of this new COVID-19 contact tracing app.
Right. Now, when you talk about the Contact Tracing Act, for people out there who are not staying up with that, obviously we know that, it talks about, who you've been around if you test positive and giving the names of people and all that kind of stuff. It does have some really bad connotations for a lot of people. What's the biggest concern you have about the contact tracing? Because we look at it and we say, all right, we're trying to be responsible within our community. We're trying to make sure that we don't spread the Wuhan virus any further. But by the same token, do we cash in our Constitution? Do we cash in our civil liberties in order to do that? And in the hands of certain people, And we know politicians sometimes have a way of getting their hands on things and using them for, power acquisition and things like that. Couldn't it be a very dangerous thing? Your thoughts about that?
I think it absolutely could, right? This is a state-funded phone app. It's going to be put out to the masses, and it's going to have a major impact on data collection from the public. And we are not sure how they're going to account for your privacy and for your rights. And Gary, we know data collection is big business, right?
Oh, yeah.
And eventually, as we said earlier, we're going to be in a post-COVID-19 world. What happens to that data after the pandemic is over? Does the public know what data this app is actually collecting? Where is that data going to be stored? How is that data going to be used?
Well,
Where is the data going after the pandemic? Oh, we need answers to these questions, right? We want to be responsible, but we also want to assure that we understand what we are consenting to. And, I will say this. It must be voluntary. Government has to ensure that any use of any contact tracing app, technology, is voluntary.
One of the things that I think, and it has not been said because it wouldn't be the right thing to say publicly or public relations-wise, but it's, okay, we're in very unique times, therefore the Constitution doesn't really count. Your civil rights don't really count. We're going to tell you where to go and march around and put little signs up everywhere about social distancing and tell you every day if you're the governor tweeting about wearing a mask and what it's doing, and that protects me and I protect you and all the stuff. And after a while, we say, wait a second. If the Constitution doesn't count during our most drastic times, then does it count at all? And I know you put something up on your website regarding the Constitution that doesn't stop being the Constitution just because a pandemic is unfolding. And that's, I think, one of the concerns that people have right now, Kristin. About a minute left in this segment. Your thoughts on that?
Gary, I will say to you that I believe that Constitution is more important now in a crisis than it is during everyday regular life. That Constitution is there to ensure that we are protected, and it most certainly does not go away in any crisis.
Senator Kristin Phillips-Hill from the 28th Senatorial District here with us this morning. Kristin, when you look at schools opening right now, we just had Dr. Bob Lombardi on before you this morning, the executive director of the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic Association. And he's talking about the step-by-step fluid approach they're trying to take to running sports. Obviously, schools are in the same situation right now. Yesterday, we saw a Zoom outage on part of the East Coast on the first day of online school, so that becomes a problem. I mean, obviously, it's the understatement of the year to say that we're in very unique times right now. But as you watch schools reopening, some in school, some online, some a hybrid of both, and you're seeing all that's happening, what crosses your mind, not only as a legislator, but just as a citizen yourself?
Well, having been a former school board director, Gary, I've spent a lot of time worried about what's going to happen, concerned about, our children need to be back in school. And, how are we going to do this? I received a letter from a constituent. She had a nightmare scenario at her place of employment. She is a frontline worker, was exposed to another employee who tested positive to the coronavirus. She and 20 of her colleagues were told that you need to take a COVID-19 test and quarantine until you get the results back. All of the Pennsylvania-based testing locations she contacted informed her of a significant wait time just to receive a test, right? Mm-hmm. No symptoms. Just had been exposed. And then to make matters worse, she was told that the results could take up to 14 days to receive. So 3 weeks, right? 2 weeks just to get the test results, maybe another week to get a test. This woman drove to Dundalk, Maryland. She took a COVID-19 test at 10 a.m. in the morning, had her results back at 8 p.m. in the evening, and was able to go back to work with thank goodness, a negative test result, right?
Right.
So here we are. We're opening schools. We observed what happened with Dallastown with the presumed positive case with the band, and what happens with that when our schools reopen. If
Right.
someone is exposed, if someone's a presumed positive, if someone is positive, what's going to happen? We have a hard time getting teachers, right? The last time we spoke, a couple weeks ago, I told you about the legislation I'm working on with Representative Barb Gleim to make it easier to get a substitute teacher into the classroom. We don't have enough substitute teachers, and now we're going to have a teacher who is exposed, who's going to have to wait a week to get a test, and then 2 more weeks to get test results. This just doesn't work. And how much is it going to cost a school district to get a sub to put in that classroom until a teacher can get a test result?
And what's the quality of the education that kids are going to be getting during that time as well, which is yet another question that has to go into that too, having been a former teacher myself.
Right. And so, what are we going to do to get better test results quicker, right? And then you read from the Department of I think it's Harvard University's School of Public Health. They say that test results that take longer than 48 hours are essentially ineffective.
Right.
Right. So, I reached out. I wrote a letter to Dr. Levine on August 14th, and asked the question. The governor is spending over $23 million in federal funds to hire an Atlanta-based contact tracing company to come in and hire 1,000 contact tracers to personally connect, right? Then we have no idea how much money is being spent on this contact tracing app that they're now asking everybody to put on their telephones. And yet, what are we doing to invest in tax dollars, ramping up testing so that people can get results
in a timely way,
right?
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. It's frustrating because there's a lack of caring about the results of that and what it does to the economy. Speaking of the economy, about a minute left here. I just wanted to ask a very quick question. York Fair closed. A lot of the fairs in the area is closed. Farm Show, we found out last week, closed. And yet we saw the Carlisle events thing. We talked yesterday with a legislator about the special deal that went on there to keep that open. There's a lot of people looking around saying, is this all really necessary? What are your thoughts on that? About 35 seconds left. Again, and its effect on the economy is devastating.
The effect on the economy is devastating. The effect on agriculture for the loss of the farm show is truly, truly devastating. Look, special deals should not be cut. These things need to continue on, especially outside, where people can socially distance and be in the fresh air and continue to help drive our economy and get people back to work.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's just frustrating to see a lot of these outside events canceling as quickly as they do. I mean, I guess I understand some of it, but geez, I hope it ends sometime in our near future. Senator, always good talking to you this morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. We appreciate the hard work you're doing, and we look forward to talking again with you very soon. Senator Kristin Phillips-Hill with us.